Hello everyone, today on Scottish Memories I am chatting to the one and only Barbara Dickson. How are you all? I hope you are all happy and healthy and safe out there wherever you are. Just before we get started, if you haven't already, please remember to hit that subscribe button and remember to leave a comment and a like if you enjoy the video as well. But today I am genuinely over the moon with who I have as a guest. Today I am chatting to the multi-million selling recording artist Barbara Dickson OBE. Dunfermline born, Barbara cut her eye teeth singing in the folk clubs around Scotland, working on the Scottish and English folk circuit alongside the names such as Billy Connolly, Jerry Rafferty, Rab Knox, to name just a few. Moving into acting, Barbara has appeared in some incredible shows, including creating the role of Mrs Johnstone in the original cast of Willy Russels' iconic Blood Brothers. All the time building a massively successful music career, and in 1985 had a worldwide hit with I Know Him So Well alongside Elaine Paige from the musical Chess. She has gone on from strength to strength. In fact, Billy Connolly says of Barbara, "From the first time I heard her, her voice just nailed me to the wall." She's about to release her latest single, Where Shadows Meet the Light, on the 2nd of October, taken from her latest album, Time Is Going Faster, which will be released on the 30th of October. Barbara, hello, how are you?
I'm absolutely fine, Tony. I'm very well indeed. How are you?
I'm brilliant, thank you. Thank you so much for sparing the time to chat to me. I know you're very busy, so it means the world.
Thank you.
Firstly, congratulations on the new album.
You're very kind. Thank you very much indeed. It's been a long time coming. I don't usually spend so long actually with the gestation period, if you like, for want of a better term, of an album. It's just that we started the album in less than halfway through last year. And it's not really anything to do with COVID. It just got kind of held up a bit, but I'm very happy to say that it's finally ready to go and will be out on the 30th of October at the same time as an updated version of my autobiography, which was first published in 2009. So there's been a lot happened in the last 11 years. So they're being released at the same time. And it also is something, for people who are interested in me and for me to have been doing during this time of essential weirdness that's going on.
Yeah, it really is. But I mean, I was looking at the song lists of the albums as well. It's got Tell Me It's Not True on there. Is that from Blood Brothers? Is that version?
Yeah, the only familiar song I'd say on the whole album is Tell Me It's Not True, right, which I had recorded on a cast album when I was in Blood Brothers all those years ago. But it has evolved. If you think about that, it's almost 40 years ago that I recorded that song. And so therefore it just seemed time to do my own particular version of it. Yeah. And I still play it and sing it. I also sing Easy Terms, which is the other big song from Blood Brothers that Mrs Johnstone, the character that I played, sings. But Tell Me It's Not True has an enduring quality for people who know that show because, of course, it's the final song in the whole show. But yes, we have re-recorded it. And I say in my sleeve notes on the album that it's because I felt that it was time to revisit it again. Sometimes I do that with songs. For example, January, February, which was very much a pop classic of mine, we revisited that about 10 years ago. I thought it would not work for me these days, but actually it does. It works fine. It's just it needed to be changed a bit and updated and looked at without losing the essence of what people like it, because there's nothing worse than sitting in an audience and someone doing such a remake on something that you hold dear, and you think, what did they do that for? Or a medley of their hits is the most insulting of all, I think.
Yeah. And it seems to be something that's happening more and more nowadays. You know, people are just taking ideas old ideas from films and TV and just trying to do it again. It just sometimes just doesn't have the same spark as that
Indeed.
thing. But
Indeed.
for the chance to revisit yourself, it must be exciting.
Yes, it is. It is indeed. And I love making music, and actually the music that I make is partly old things that are revisited and sort of imagined, and completely new things, either traditional songs that I've picked up on that I'm interested in singing, or newly written songs. So there's 3 completely new original songs written by me on the album as well.
Oh, amazing.
So everybody's very happy with those, and the downloadable single that's coming out from the album is one of my own songs, which wasn't chosen by me. It was a sort of various people that work with me said that should be the single. Very interesting that they should choose a song of mine. I didn't lay down the law and say that had to be the single. They just felt that it was it represented the album rather well. So I'm very happy about that, obviously.
That's brilliant. I'll be excited to hear it, because I grew up listening to a lot of your work.
Yes.
My dad were big fans. I've been very lucky with the people I've interviewed in this series. When I was told them I was chatting to you, they were properly starstruck.
Marvellous. That's good. That's good news.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to hear them. But you grew, cut your teeth, I suppose, in the pub circuit in Edinburgh, didn't you?
I live in Edinburgh. Sorry, did you say, did I?
Yeah, I was singing. You cut your eye teeth in Edinburgh in the pub circuit, didn't you?
Well, actually, that's not strictly true. What I did was I'm from Dunfermline.
Yeah.
And I grew up there, and I went to the local folk club in Dunfermline, and it was there that I started singing, learning songs, taking guidance from the other people who were the singers there. They met every Thursday night in the Brucefield Hotel. But shortly afterwards, I started to travel over to Edinburgh. I had a boyfriend in Edinburgh, so I used to come over and stay at his parents' house and spend time in the city. So I was very young when I was doing that. But when I moved to Edinburgh, which wasn't that long after I'm talking about, that's when I started to go to Sandy Bells and the Waverley and the Buffs Club, which was in Albany Street, not far from where I live, and the Crown, which was Archie Fisher's folk club, various other venues in the city, which are legendary now.
Yeah.
But some had folk clubs in them. Some were just bars where people sang. Sandy Bells was never a club. Sandy Bells was never for anything other than singing. There was very little instrumental music there because there was nowhere to sit. People just stood at the back of the room and sung where they found themselves. So that was a very good way to learn how to do harmony singing, a cappella, of course, no instruments. And so this is where I learned a lot of what I still do.
Because this was, I was very similar. I went to drama school in London, but beforehand I used to sing in the pub circuits and miners' clubs and things. And there's no better way really to learn your trade than in there, is there? Because you have to be able to hold it.
Well, and also in those days, of course, you could actually practice live. Now, you're much younger than me, but you could practice live. You could practice what you did in front of people. Now it's very difficult. There's obviously, I'm not talking about currently during this COVID crisis, but there has recently been very few places where people can actually perform to try out stuff to see if what they do is any good. Whereas there were hundreds of places to play when I was young.
Yeah, and it's one of the things, Edinburgh's struggling with that now. It feels like live music venues, even before COVID-19, were just becoming less and less and less and less. And it's heartbreaking, truthfully.
Well, of course, I was very lucky because I just hit the zeitgeist when it came to the folk scene, because we were all young singers playing in our local folk clubs. Now, there were, I'm just plucking a figure out the sky, but there must have been 50 to 75 folk clubs in Scotland.
Wow.
I mean, that many.
Yeah.
And there must have been about 4 in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
You know, running every week, as well as people, other places where the pub would put on, friends of mine called the McCalmans. Ian McCalman is an Edinburgh person. And he had a trio called the McCalmans. And they used to be booked to play at the Waverley Bar in St Mary Street every Monday night, say, for example. So people would go to see them play. It wasn't strictly a club, but it was just a wonderful place. Now, they would have had people who had just got off the train in those days, who would just call in for a pint and hear this wonderful music. So the pub would get people to play nights of the week. And I think that's a great thing. You know, I know they do still have sessions now, but it was very plentiful, and the music was of a very high quality then.
Do you still have the same love for the folk music now as you did then?
Yes, traditional music is my first love, although I didn't spring from that sort of music. I sprang from the pop music of the 1960s. I mean, I was a fan of the Everly Brothers and the Beatles and people like that, because I was a child when that music was popular, and it was of a very high quality. But I think it was the Everly Brothers that made me love folk music, because they made a whole album of songs from the Appalachians, where they came from. Right. I learned about folk music, a combination of things. I had a school teacher in Dunfermline who was interested in it. It was the time of the Kingston Trio, and then Peter, Paul and Mary and Bob Dylan. And so therefore my love of singer-songwriters, traditional music, traditional songs based in, not really instrumental music so much, but songs based in, the subject matter that is universal: love, work, crime, the big issues, and folk music is all about the big stories. And so therefore I got the bug when I was very young and never lost it, really.
And the Everly Brothers as well. I mean, incredibly famous for incredible harmonies as well. I mean, you couldn't really get much better than them, really, when it came to that. I was lucky enough. My dad took me to see the Everly Brothers at the Playhouse, and they blew me away. When I was a young lad at the time, blew me away.
Well, they were really wonderful, and of course they sprang from the sort of old time music scene in Kentucky and in Tennessee. So the music, a lot of the music that they learned as children had actually come across with what they call the Scotch-Irish diaspora. Yeah. And that music settled in the Appalachians, and they sprang from that. So yes, I love folk music. Having said that, I love Stephen Sondheim. I like classical music. I like country music very much. So I have a kind of Catholic taste in what I like. And also the music that I play when I play live is, singer-songwriter music, songs by people like James Taylor, for example, or I write songs myself. There's traditional music, there's my hits. And basically it's a broad church of music, but the only thing I ask from the music is that it is the kind of music that someone of my age, vintage and style, because I play guitar and piano as well, and I've gone back to doing that. I mean, it was only when I was a pop star really that I was encouraged not to play instruments. It's quite interesting now, but now I do play instruments. So I've gone back to, I'm an instrumentalist. I accompany myself on an instrument whenever I sing, and that's what I continue to do. So I'm always looking for new ventures, new projects. I'm always working on things that I'm interested in. So the new album and the new music that I've created since I've come back to Edinburgh 5 years ago has been very important to me, that I keep up a a presence until I feel that I maybe should retire, but certainly not at the moment. Well, something to say, and I'm interested in what I'm doing. Yeah.
Have you enjoyed coming back to Edinburgh? Is it has it been nice and welcoming coming back home here?
Oh, it's fantastic. Well, I live in the city centre, and some of the people that I know here are people I've known all along. I did keep in touch with quite a lot of people in Scotland who were from prior to when I became famous. I haven't got any show business friends at all, really, apart from a couple of actors that I'm very fond of. But I don't spend time really with people in show business. The people that I spend time with, apart from my family, are the people that I've known for years and years and years. And also the wonderful thing that's happened to me is in the last 5 years, having returned to Edinburgh, I've become very friendly with other people. Some people I knew by reputation, and I was introduced to a lot of wonderful people by a very good friend of mine called Mark MacLeod, who I did know in the early noughties because I'd come up to Edinburgh to do something, met him, and he, once we became resident again in Edinburgh, has introduced us to lots of people. So I've got to know Mark Muller, who runs the Beyond Borders Festival down at Traquair. I've met Alan Little and Sheena MacDonald and various, luminaries. I know Val McDermott and all sorts of people I've met since returning to Edinburgh. And of course, I'm still pals with all my old Fife friends and spend time visiting. I go over to Glasgow and over to Fife. But I do love, I must say, as a very proud Fifer, I do love coming back to Edinburgh because as a girl, when I was 17, my ambition was to live in the city. And I must say, not because I'm talking to you, that it is the finest place to live in of all, because it's a small city. It's important, but it's small. Yeah. So you can almost walk everywhere. It's absolutely jam-packed full of culture and history. And I love that. I'm a history buff. I like old architecture. I'm really interested in those things. And yet the best thing for me as a Fifer is I can stand very near my house and look straight over the river to Fife.
Yeah.
So I can connect to the River Forth. I live on the north side of the town, and don't think I could ever live on the south side.
Yeah.
Because the north side to me connects to Fife and the river, which is very important to me that I have a view of these things.
We're very similar that way. I wanted to live in the heart of Edinburgh when I was young. I moved down to London. It's obviously a very important big city, but there's just something so beautiful and special about Edinburgh with its history and its buildings, and truthfully the view over the Forth looking onto Fife is just spectacular.
It is so beautiful, and I know people say this about Glasgow, that the wonderful thing about Glasgow is within 10 minutes you can be in the country, and in Edinburgh it's very similar. Yeah. But with Edinburgh, also we have that beautiful coastline on both sides. You can go up to the bridges and beyond to Hopetoun, and if you go east from Edinburgh, right out to Dunbar. It's just so fabulous to see the water, and every day the changes in the weather on the river. And although Edinburgh, it's interesting because my mother was from Liverpool, and Liverpool refers very, very much to the River Mersey. It's like a fan shape around the pierhead. But in Edinburgh, because of Leith being the port, we in the city seem to be removed from the water, apart from the water of Leith, but the big water. So if we want to refer to it, we have to stand on the top of the hill and look down the hill, and there we see it in front of us. So I love it. I love going over the bridges. I love coming back. I love being here. My social life is excellent. I work in the city quite a lot. I walk about. I spend a lot of time walking because I'm in the city centre, and it's just glorious to be here.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I could not. If I didn't already, I mean, that's why I do the channel, because I love the place so much. If I didn't already, you've already sold me on it again.
Yeah. Yes. That's right.
I know we've not got a massive amount of time, so I'm going to this isn't a Scottish thing as such, but I did want to ask. Obviously, you did 2 big Willy Russels shows.
John Paul, George, Ringo, and Bert was the first one, and then Blood Brothers.
But you kind of almost answered my question, because I was going to say, did you find the Liverpool accent, difficult? But then if your mum was Liverpudlian, must have been quite natural.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because my Scouse family, I've still got family there, but they're really funny, because Mrs Johnstone, my character, she was from Liverpool 8 and she was a Scouser, but she doesn't have aspirations apart from to move to the country, which is in the show, of course. But when I was talking to my family about it, and I said, well, I'm going to have to do a Liverpool accent, and of course they said, oh, we don't have a Liverpool accent. We don't speak like that, So of course this made me laugh, because they weren't really put on Scouse. So you couldn't understand them. You could understand every word they said, and they spoke very well. But they did have a strong Liverpool accent, so that's why I tapped into that. And my mother used to say shit and gale and purple. So she always said that. She used to say, "Oh, I like purple. I love purple." So it was easy for me, because I just listened to her. And most of the cast were from Liverpool as well, so I just asked them. So yeah, I did that, and my connection with Liverpool is enormous. But of course, I was born and bred here. The reason that happened was that my father was a policeman in Liverpool, and he met my mother there, and he was invalided out of the police during the war, and had to come back to Scotland, and brought my mother with him. That's why he went back to Dunfermline, where he was born, and that's why I come from there. But the interesting thing for me is that my grandfather, that was his dad, was from Pennycook. So Dickson is a Lothian's name. Dickson is a Lothian's name. It's very common in Edinburgh, Mid Lothian and East Lothian, and it originates in East Lothian. That's why there's a lot of Dicksons around, and so I have a very proud connection to Mid Lothian, and therefore Edinburgh, through my grandpa.
I hadn't actually thought of it, but growing up, I knew a lot of Dicksons, but I hadn't thought of it before.
Yes.
One of the things.
It was a Lothian's name, and very much my connection through my grandfather, who I never knew. He died sadly a year before I was born, but he was a lovely guy, and when he and my granny married, they lived in Pennycook. They went to live where he originated, so I have big connections with the area. And as I say, as a youngster, I lived in the new town in a room in a house here, and where I currently live is about 100 yards away from where I lived in my room.
That's lovely.
So it's amazing. It's just a coincidence, but every time I walk past it, I say to my husband, I used to live in there, Yeah.
So you've played, obviously, as I mentioned just before we got started, the channel's watched by people all over the world who are all thinking about coming to Scotland and Edinburgh. And when you were gigging with the folk music and things when you were younger and doing the pubs, if people were coming to Scotland, you must have places that you love to visit out with of Edinburgh. Is there anywhere that that people might miss that you think, go there, that's lovely?
Well, I would say try and avoid the crowds. And the problem we have with Edinburgh is it is very small. It's very user-friendly, but it's very small. And it can get very crowded. So if I was a person coming to Edinburgh, I would, of course, love to look at the castle and absorb the essence of the town. And then I would head out. I would go down the coast, down East Lothian. And then for Scotland, I would head up towards Torridon and the northwest of Scotland, which I think people stand and scratch their heads because they have no idea it's there.
Yeah.
And that is Scotland. And they think, oh my God, it's like a sort of miniature version of Canada. Just unbelievable that we have that countryside, but Scotland is full of different colours. So you've got the rolling, beautiful East Neuk of Fife, where St Andrews and the fishing villages are, which is like you're standing on top of the world. It's all sky and rolling land, and not what you would associate immediately with Scotland. But we have the wildness of the northwest, and just beautiful, characterful cities as well. All of our big cities are characterful and different. And as a Scot, I mean, you will agree with me, I'm sure, people in Dundee, which isn't even far away, are quite different to people in Edinburgh. And people in Glasgow are very different. So we're a mixed bag culturally as well, with a big Irish influence in the West. And in the East Coast, we're more Northumbrian people in the Lothians, I would say. And then you've got the Gaels up at the top, the sort of above the Highland line. So we're a massive mixture in a tiny little country with 6 million people. It's a marvelous mixture of people, and thank goodness we're the better for it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, our 5 main cities, they're all beautiful, but you're right, they're all so different. You could explore all the time. I've said this to a couple of guests. I had a comment from, I think it was a subscriber from Canada, who said they've had friends who want to come to Scotland, and they've said you could see it in 2 weeks, but it would take you a lifetime to discover it, which I think there's not a truer phrase, really.
That's right. Well, people travel around in buses. It's the old adage of the Japanese tourists years ago who used to get off the bus, take pictures and get back on the bus again and travel on to Stratford or to the Tower of London. But I mean, you can do Scotland Line, but that really is such a waste. And I think I would advise people, if they're coming, to come several times. Because I don't think if you want to absorb it through the pores in your body, then you have got to spend time standing in one spot. And also, I think the countryside is so different. I mean, if you go out to the islands, I have very good friends who live on the Isle of Coll, and I spend time there, and it's unlike anywhere else. I've also got very good friends who live in County Mayo in Ireland, and it's not dissimilar to go to Clare Island, which is in Clew Bay, or the Isle of Coll. They're the same kind of topography, but they're very different indeed. And the people are different. So you have to kind of plant yourself in a community to get to know it. And that's when you take away a piece of where you are.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I've got a funny story, actually, you just reminded me. I'll tell you quickly. I used to host, do you know the Jam House on Queen Street? It used to be the old BBC buildings on Queen Street.
Yes, I do know it.
About 6 years ago, I was hosting a Scottish show there called The Spirit of Scotland. And it was full of these coach loads of people, Americans, Canadians. So it was a great show. We got a full meal and they got to see the show. But one night, all we had was a few buses of, I think they were Japanese tourists, straight off the plane. They'd be straight on the bus to their hotel and then brought to us. We started doing the show. We're about 10 minutes into the show, and the guide had to come up onto the stage and said, "Sorry guys, I'm going to have to stop." They were all falling asleep at the table because they were all jet lagged. The entire audience, because they just came off the boat.
Oh, that's
the plane, and then just like
that's so crazy to make people sort of have an itinerary like that, and that really typifies what I just said. Yeah, you can't pick anything up, anything. It's not just useful, but helpful or spiritual up from anything like that. You need to go and stand somewhere where you just feel the wind in your hair, and that's the thing. That's what you need to do in Scotland. It is a great, great country.
I like to finish with what I call difficult questions, but for Scottish people, they're difficult questions.
Yes, yeah.
But just before I do that, I just want to quickly say as well, obviously one of the worldwide hits that you had with "I Know Him So Well" with Elaine Paige. That song, I mean, it's an incredible song, obviously from Chess. It's just a song that keeps coming back, isn't it? It's an incredible song that everyone, when I mentioned that I was going to interview you, to all my friends of all ages, every single one of them has started singing that song.
Well, the thing about that song is it is now a karaoke classic.
I suppose it is a bit, yeah.
It is. It is a karaoke classic. So actually, I don't take ownership of that song any longer. I was the first person to sing it. But it's now been sung and taken up by so many different people that it's gone out and it has a life of its own. So I kind of wish it well. And really, it's basically an ABBA song in disguise. So like most of the ABBA catalogue, it's sung in karaoke bars and by people who want to reflect on that kind of repertoire. Funnily enough, it's the only song of mine that I have an association with that I don't sing.
Oh, really?
Because it's a duet, particularly because it's a duet. And I don't feel ownership of it like I do the rest of the songs. But I am very grateful for the fact that it made people remember who I was, and they think they remember me as being associated with it.
I've got these difficult questions for you now. Just before
on you go
back to normal life. So, shortbread or tablet?
Shortbread or tablet?
Yeah.
Oh.
These are the difficult questions now.
Definitely tablet, but I mean, it makes me feel sick because I can't stop eating it.
It's so sweet, isn't it?
Yes, it's tooth decay.
Yeah, my wife is like, she always says, it just makes her teeth feel fuzzy. She loves it, but it makes them.
I know. Oh, I love it, but it's the consistency of it. Oh, it's gorgeous. Yeah.
Iron brew or whiskey?
Whiskey. Single malt, please, and from a Speyside, a Highland, not the island ones. Right. They taste like cough mixture to me, but I would like a nice smooth something like the Balvenie or something like that. Delicious.
Square sausage or black pudding?
Oh, square sausage! I love it. I'm the only person in my family that likes it, and all my kids who were all born in England but who claim great Scottishness through me always say it's too boingy. It's really boingy, Mum. And I said, I know it's boingy, but I love it.
Oh, I do.
And I do like black pudding too, but square sausage, I love it.
Right, this is where it gets really difficult. Haggis, neeps and tatties or mince and tatties?
Haggis, neeps and tatties.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do like mince and tatties, but I love haggis, neeps and tatties.
You'd be surprised how many people I've interviewed, and obviously it's fellow Scots like ourselves that I'm always talking to, that they're all saying they didn't get introduced to haggis till later on in life. A lot of them, it was just mince and tatties.
I'm trying to think. Oh, we had haggis suppers, of course, in the fish and chip shops.
Yeah.
So, I love a haggis supper. I mean, it is heart attack on legs, but it's fantastic. I've never had a deep fried Mars bar, but I've had a deep fried haggis, and it's fantastic. Oh, just my taste buds are going just thinking about it. I love it.
And the Marvel Avengers film was filmed in Edinburgh on Coburn Street a couple of years ago. There's a bit in there because obviously as they dress up shops, to be something else. They dressed up a clothes shop to be a chippy. And in the window, I love that they deliberately put in the window, "We'll deep fry your haggis."
I just love it. That's fantastic.
Last one, Tunnocks tea cakes or caramel wafers?
Oh, that's the most difficult question I've ever been. Oh my God. I think because I'm a greedy fat pig, I'd have to say Tunnocks caramel wafers because they're bigger and they're fatter and they're sweeter. But I love them both. No, caramel wafers, defo.
Barbara, this has been
well, nice to talk to you, Tony, and I hope we get people to come back to Scotland soon.
That's why I'm doing this. I'm trying to help, show people that we are here and they are all welcome once the doors open up.
Yes, and we will be open for business again. And it's Scotland is gorgeous. The air is just the best in the world. So lovely to talk to you, Tony.
It's lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much for spending the time.
Take care, my dear. Bye-bye.
That was just incredible. I genuinely grew up listening to Barbara's music. So my mum and dad would be playing it in the house quite often. So it's just a voice that I really knew growing up, her voice in my house. So getting the chance to chat to her, and she is genuinely the loveliest person. Barbara, I cannot thank you enough for sparing time out your busy schedule to chat with me. It was just incredible. I hope you guys have enjoyed that as much as I really, really did. If you did, please remember to subscribe. Remember to share this as much as you can. Give it a like, leave a comment. That was genuinely amazing to get to chat to her today. I hope you enjoyed that. But wherever you are, keep yourself safe out there. Bye, humans.